I'm Dave Baker.
And I'm Spandrew Spice.
Welcome to Deep Cuts, the podcast where we pick a topic and walk you through the ins, the outs, and the nitty-gritty so you can appear like an interesting and idiosyncratic person at your next forced social function. Today's topic is...
the bizarre history of the dinosauroid.
What are the dinosauroids? Well, the dinosauroids are a bipedal reptilian race of creatures who supposedly could have evolved from non-avian dinosaurs millions of years ago. The creature in question is not something that exists, but more a solitary howl of existential what-if made by speculative scientists and wishful zoologists. Or maybe the dinosauroid does exist? Act 1. If the eyes are the windows to the soul, what does that mean when they're weird yellow tennis balls? Speculative zoology is sometimes referred to as speculative evolution. It's a school of thought that allows for possible what-ifs on the evolutionary food chain. One of the foundational texts of speculative zoology is After Man by Dougal Dixon, published in 1981. Dixon wrote two additional books, The New Dinosaurs, published in 1988, and Man After Man in 1990. These works seek to contextualize a world where the dinosaurs survived the asteroid that rendered them extinct. Dixon seems more interested in this setting as a means to tell stories and iterate on what possible new creatures could have appeared than actual hard fact. He doesn't seem concerned if or how these creatures really would have appeared, or that this genre of speculative zoology is more just an apparatus to tell stories within. This is a photo right here of Dougal Dixon.
He looks like a Dougal Dixon. Like, in the game of Dougal Dixon looks like, Dougal Dixon looks like Dougal Dixon.
Yeah, he's a Caucasian dude in his 60s in this photo, and he's standing next to a little stop-motion puppet that he's designed, which is somewhat horrifying and also amazing.
He looks like he only speaks in his name like a Pokemon. If you had a conversation with him, he'd be like, Dougal Dixon.
Dougal Dixon looks like the type of uncle that gives you cash from other countries as a child, where initially you're like, yes, oh, it's 5 francs. What is this? We don't even use francs anymore. They use fucking euros, Uncle Dixon.
Damn it. 5 Canadian dollars? This is costing me money to hold this.
So, you know, he writes these books and illustrates these books, which are basically just kind of like fantasy. Oh, wouldn't it be fucking neat if there was like a hybrid unicorn and velociraptor? That would be pretty fucking chill. He's
a more navel-gazy Phil Tippett.
Yeah, totally. He's Phil Tippett, but he's satisfied with just being like, I don't know, maybe this guy?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. As opposed to Phil Tippett, who's just like, I'm creating worlds within worlds within worlds to put onto a magical screen to capture the imaginations of millions. He's just like, what if this guy? What if we had a guy like this? What if we had a little guy just like this?
So he's a writer and an illustrator, and he comes up with this series of books and kind of is at the forefront of this iterative visual design thing that some people take really fucking seriously. This speculative zoology thing is like really big in certain scientific circles. In other scientific circles, people are just like, yeah, but none of that shit exists. What are you fucking wasting your time for? Like, this is fucking dumb, bro. Like, study real things that really exist. Don't waste your time on, I don't know, what if this guy?
This is going to be some shots fired. But this is like the fan films of science, where it's just like, this is really good. And you put a lot of work into this and you're talented. But why? You could have just made like your own thing.
Yeah. Dale A. Russell, however, approaches this topic with the almost exact opposite perspective. A scientist who worked for many years as the curator of fossil vertebrates at the Canadian Museum of Nature and research professor at the Department of Marine Earth, Russell was consumed with the idea of what if dinosaur humanoids actually existed. He didn't go so far as to say that they actually did exist, but just repeatedly offered texts, sculptures, artwork that he commissioned, and research papers that propagated a what if they had existed thesis.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am Dougal Dixon, and I stand before you with the most revelatory scientific observation that has ever existed in my realm of study. I come before you with news that shatters realities and changes our perception of the observable world around us. And I ask you, dear audience, what if there was a little guy like this?
Yeah, so this guy, Dale A. Russell, he's the father of this idea called the Dinosauroid, which, as we'll get into in a second, is basically what if a specific type of dinosaur had survived the, Cretaceous era asteroid impact.
But Dave, we already fucking know. This is all bullshit. This is pointless. We already know. It's called Theodore Rex. These guys wasted their fucking life. Whoopi Goldberg cracked the case wide open in 1996. I'm going to double check. If I got that right, I'm going to be very proud of myself. 1995 was a year off. 1996, whenever adjusted for inflation.
Dale A. Russell is a scientist who's obsessed with this idea of a dinosauroid. And what's fascinating about it is that he uses every means that a conspiracy theorist uses to disseminate their ideas into the broader mainstream culture. But because he's a scientist, he can't say it's real. The only thing that's missing is him just saying, I saw one of these once in the wild. He writes scientific papers about it. He commissions artists to make sculptures about it. He installs a little, window display in the museum that he works at in Canada. He's a scientist, but he's also a conspiracy theorist. He's a conspiracy theorist trapped in the body of a scientist.
Yeah, he's kind of the opposite of those skeptical researchers that exist in a lot of fields. They're not the same as a skeptic. Their whole life is dedicated to this field of study of cryptozoology or aliens or magic or something. They're somebody who has an inherent extreme passionate interest for it, and they want to find out that it is real, but they operate from a place of, by default, I have not seen any proof that this is real, so currently I don't believe it's real. I'm trying to find the proof, and if somebody can prove this to me, I will fucking believe it, and I will tell everybody that it's real, but I have yet to have that happen. This guy's the opposite of that, where he's just crafting shit and just being just give me any reason to think this is all real. I'm right there. Just nudge me. Just nudge me a little bit. All these little guys I made, let's figure this shit out.
So while researching pterodontids, I think that's how you pronounce it, pterodontids, they used to be called ceranthroids, but while he's researching this specific type of bipedal dinosaur called pterontids, he becomes really obsessed with the idea that with a couple million years of evolution, the math of their brain size to their body size would have yielded higher thought capability. So he kind of is looking at all these different skulls, looking at all these different breeds of dinosaur and being oh, that one's fucking stupid. That one's just, it's never going to go anywhere. Fucking 40 million years, doesn't matter. That fucking dinosaur is stupid. This dinosaur, actually, I think this guy could have fucking spawned a real life thinking higher sentient being that would have been descendant from reptilians, dinosaurs.
He's asking the wrong questions, though. It's who gives a shit how smart they would be? Would they be sexy?
Yeah. That is the appropriate question. Would you want to fuck them?
That's what I want to know.
I mean, I guess we'll find out when we look at these images. So the size of the brain is appropriate in relation of mass to body mass to basically about that of an opossum or an emu. And he writes this research paper in the 80s that, strangely, he doesn't get laughed out of every room with. But he writes a research paper in the 70s, and then he becomes well known as a scientist, and then writes this one in the 80s that if we were to extrapolate that somehow somebody survived, one of these creatures survived the asteroid impact, they would have become sentient. And he includes all these crazy hypotheses to back up that they would look humanoid. He's like, the dinosaur's beak would have receded because if the brain is the size of an opossum with 100 million years of evolution, the back of the skull would get bigger, and so in order to counterweight that, the beak would have to get smaller and therefore kind of become a little snout as opposed to more lengthy like they currently have. Also, their eyes are in their front of their head like a predator, but they're also a little bit on the sides. Maybe the dinosauroid eyes would have been large and like kind of centered in the head, but not fully forward facing like ours. Like they'd be kind of like a little bit janky looking.
You know what he was really trying to say? He was a scientist. He couldn't come out and say it, but he was trying to say, like, you could fuck them. It's going to be okay.
So we're going to get into that in a second. So this is a photo. He names it the Dinosauroid in this paper that he writes. And initially, it doesn't go over that crazy, but he just keeps beating the drum of like, this Dinosauroid thing, it fucking exists, man. I know it exists. And by know it exists, he doesn't mean literally it exists. He's like, this could have happened. Like, we very easily could have been weird dinosaur creatures as opposed to descended from primates. And so he commissions these sculptures. Here's a photo of him in his office with multiple sculptures. You want to describe this for the listener?
Yeah, so we got our boy Dale Russell, which also just looks like a Dale Russell. Like, we're 2 for 2 on this. This guy is Dale Russell, and he's sitting in his office. It's dramatically lit. We got a practical light, this lamp here that's lighting the wall and giving him a little bit of an edge light, and then there's some kind of key light off to the side that's a little bit diffused, so it's got this like dark, moody lighting of this photo, and he's sitting on his desk, and he's got what seems to be just like a raptor, like a big scale model of a raptor. Not scale model, but a life-size model of a raptor, or some kind of like raptor-like dinosaur. And then on his right, there is this like humanoid dinosaur creature that looks like the alien from Animorphs, the TV show.
Oh my God, totally. I had not thought of that. Holy shit, it totally is.
Yeah, it just looks exactly like that.
So the raptor creature is the Pterontid, the dinosaur that
this is supposed to evolve from.
Yeah, but he's sitting on the counter, or he's sitting on his desk with his legs crossed, doing a last pour Yorick.
Oh, yeah. He's holding the skull of the Dinosauroid. That's amazing. I love that so much. He's commissioned the skull of it, and he's fucking Shakespeareing it.
Yeah, a last pour Yorick. I knew him well. He was a Dinosauroid.
That's also just something that Dale Russell would do.
Oh, 100%.
Dale Russell would do that.
So beneath this photo, we have that same sculpture, both the Dinosauroid and the Pterontid sculpture, better lit. From looking at these images, do you see any takeaways that are a little bit more revelatory from a clearer look at what Dale Russell is saying the Dinosauroids look like?
Oh, I mean, I'll tell you what. He's right. They are real. This is the frogman.
Yeah.
It's all connected. The Deep Cuts cryptozoological universe is coming together because this is the frogman.
Well, the other thing that's really funny to me about this is that, like, this sculpture of the Dinosauroid has no visible genitalia, and he's gone on the record multiple times being like, no, they have genitalia, but they're just, like, in a little, like, chrysalis pouch thing on their groin, and when they become aroused, it opens and the genitalia comes out. But we don't show that because it's in the pouch, in these sculptures.
Listen, you don't gotta worry. This dude is stacked. It's there. He's got it. No worries there. Put it out of your mind. You are gonna be able to fuck this guy.
But the thing that's so interesting is that these sculptures are, like, kind of fucking cool. I would watch a movie where there was a weird alien creature that looked like this.
Yeah, these models are amazing. Also, there's an episode of Voyager about this, and the creatures look like this. There's an episode of Voyager where they come across a planet of beings that are evolved from a dinosaur on Earth. And the whole thing is that to this race of beings, the idea that they were evolved from dinosaurs is like their version of human evolution, and they have like this very religious culture that doesn't believe that this is the case, and there's this one scientist who's trying to prove that they were descended from Earth dinosaurs, and the creatures look like this guy. I'm wondering if it was like actually directly inspired by this.
I don't know, maybe. I really don't know. But I also could see, that's a pretty straightforward, if we didn't evolve from monkeys, maybe we evolved from lizards.
Yeah, it's a pretty, like, low-hanging fruit sci-fi concept of, like, there's another planet that's a metaphor for humans fighting over religion and evolution, but this time it's dinosaurs.
So this last photo that we're going to talk about is a separate museum that is also in Canada, but that Dale Russell had nothing to do with. And they have their own Dinosauroid sculpture. And it's so shitty, but I kind of love it even more. Like, it's super fucking wonky looking. Like, it's like the Pinata Store version of the Dinosauroid, which is fucking awesome to me.
I want to go to wherever this is, because this particular type of, like, museum / exhibit, this is just exactly like the UFO museum in Roswell. It's just this, like, janky little kitschy museum with, like, dividers hanging up in a big room that have a bunch of papers, like, taped to them, and then little shitty, like, scale models and things like that. And it's a very particular vibe that I love. And I want to go to whatever this museum is.
You think I'm going to debate you on that? Like, how many times have I been trying to go to this fucking Mothman museum? And I know that it's terrible, but that's all I give a shit. I just want to go to the fucking shitty Mothman museum.
We got to go on a tour. We got to go to the Mothman Museum. I'll take you to the UFO Museum. We got to go to this place.
I feel like we have to do a, like, road trip tour, but we can only take freeways or highways that have road signs that say, like, the thing ? On them. You know how, like, all over the country there are those strange, like, tourist traps where, you know, come and see Mudville, the thing, or whatever it is. Like, we can only take roads that have tourist traps on them.
Yeah, we got to do it. Deep Cuts Tour 2025.
So the paper that Russell co-wrote with a writer named R. Seguin came out in 1982, and it was called Reconstructions of the Small Cretaceous Theropods Steniocosaurus in Equinus and a Hypothetical Dinosauroid. That's the whole title of it. Like, the last part is just, and a hypothetical dinosauroid. I love it.
He's not hypothetical to me. He's real to me.
I know, right? So this, you know, paper and the dinosauroid myth overall, originally it was his treatise on what would happen if you had non-bird dinosaurs that evolved into higher thinking beings, as we've discovered. But it's now kind of become like this strange parallel conspiracy theory to existing conspiracy theories, where, you know, you have David Icke and the reptilians, you have the avians as an alien race of bird people, the Greys, obviously, and the dinosauroid kind of gets, like, weirdly lumped into a lot of those conversations, even though people are saying that the avians and the Greys and the other alien races are literally existing. But the dinosauroid comes in and people are like, yeah, we know it's not real, but, like, that also could be true. Like, it could have worked that way. But it's not real. But anyway, so I was in the Arctic and I saw a subterranean catacomb filled with Nazi scientists, and they were being controlled by avian and reptilian creatures. And yeah, it was pretty wild. And I tried to tell the US government, and they wouldn't believe me. But also, what if there was a fucking dinosaur guy and he was just like a little guy? That'd be pretty cool.
You got to have your dessert. You got to have a little bit of whipped cream on top of your sundae. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I saw the Nazi bunker with the fucking bird aliens. But also, what if there was a little dino and he walked around like this?
But that's the thing that's so fascinating about this to me, is because it's a completely harmless theory because everyone knows it isn't true. And there's no one trying to pretend that it is true. As we've talked about before on the show, like, I miss when conspiracy theories were, like, more kind of, I don't know. You know, like, I miss when conspiracy theories were not necessarily harmless, but didn't immediately make you a neo-Nazi.
Yeah, I mean, there always have been conspiracy theories that are bad in that way, but that wasn't like the coin of the realm. It was like a subsection of them. Like, there was the anti-Semitic trope-ridden conspiracy theories, but that wasn't just, like, synonymous with conspiracy theories. It was like, you know, there were people that were like, there was a third dude that shot JFK. I'm pretty sure there was a third dude. And then there were people who were just like, I think there's, like, bird aliens. Pretty sure. Not 100%, but, like, I'm pretty sure there was bird aliens.
Have you seen that documentary Above Majestic? I don't know how these motherfuckers tricked Hulu into putting that on there, but it's a documentary about reptilians, the avians, and the Greys, and about specifically, there's a rank in the, I think it's the avians maybe, or maybe it's the reptilians, where there's a rank that's like, once you hit a certain rank in their military, the term is above majestic, and it's like majestic or above are like the super powerful aliens. And those are the ones that come here and have the subterranean Antarctic submarine base with neo-Nazi remnants. And it's a full documentary on Hulu. And these guys are like, I used to work in the military intelligence department, and you won't believe the shit that's out there, man. Those fucking grays, bro. It's crazy to me. That's like a YouTube thing, not something that's streaming on Hulu.
Yeah, well, now I'm going to watch it. And I'm going to believe every word of it because I believe things that men in uniforms tell me.
Well, that's just more about your kinks, right? You just love a man in uniform.
Yeah, that is a little bit of a personal thing. It's not really a philosophical belief system. It's just me and buff dudes with stripes on their shoulders.
Prior to us talking about this, had you ever heard of Dinosauroids before?
No, I had never heard about this. I mean, like I said, this episode of Voyager is just uncannily similar, but I hadn't really heard the real story of this guy or the fact that there was this like hypothetical dinosaur evolved creature. But I love it.
I do too. I also just love the fact that it's so harmless. There's no, we're pulling the wool over anyone's eyes. There's no, give us money so we can make a fake archaeological dig. There's no, the president is somehow being controlled by these motherfuckers. It's literally just like, we've been talking about, of kind of like a harmless, like, wouldn't it be fucking chill if there was like a little fucking dude?
What if this one ended up being the one that was real?
Yeah, I know, right?
And Dougal's just like, who would have known? Guess I got this one right, Margaret. That's his wife.
Yeah, of course. It's really weird too, because it feels like this is primed for some sort of huckster or hoax continuation in the way that some of the other conspiracy theories that we've talked about on the show, they start with somebody seeing something they can't explain or thinking out loud maybe when they shouldn't, and then it takes on a life of its own. And the fact that the Dinosauroid, it's in literal museums, and everyone's just like, yeah, it's not real, but it's pretty fucking chill that it exists, is like the funniest thing to me.
Yeah, but do you understand what the opportunity is there? We could do that.
Oh, interesting.
We could start the idea that the Dinosauroid is a real guy, and we could say that like we were recording the podcast and the Dinosauroid just came in and he just started fucking doing sound drops.
We have the only Dinosauroid interview ever caught on podcast.
Yeah, we could just do that and become those guys that had an encounter with the Dinosauroid.
You don't have to fucking ask me twice.
But I will, though.
Let's watch this little clip here, and then we can have our free-ranging discussion at the end of it.
Oh, shit.
Consider a world in which we may have rubbed shoulders with a dinosaur.
They've just got this dinosaur dude walking through the city.
Evolutionary paleobiologist Simon Conway Morris is among a select group of people who argue that evolution is far from random, believing that life, given time, will evolve via natural selection toward a few optimum designs. And they don't come much better than the human form.
The human is extraordinarily well designed. A whole arrangement is actually designed for a particular mode of life, which, as you can see, looking around us, is incredibly successful. Is a dinosauroid like a humanoid really a possibility? I don't really see why not. I mean, there are lots of different, if you like, designs out there in the natural world, but the humanoid is a really good design. If it's such a good solution for us, is it so difficult to imagine it could be a good solution for a dinosaur, therefore a dinosauroid? I don't see why not. Evolutionary convergence is the idea that from completely different starting positions, life, if you like, navigates to a very, very similar solution. But again and again in evolution what we see is that animals, even plants, even bacteria, which don't look anything like each other to begin with, end up slowly coming together to be sometimes almost indistinguishable. Life has a pattern, and it also suggests that maybe evolution has predictability.
Conway Morris has no problem envisioning an alternate 21st century with dinosaurs which includes one species, like Homo sapiens, that would have prevailed and evolved above all others of its kind.
Let's imagine perhaps that the dinosaurs really did become some sort of dinosauroid. The great rock doesn't fall out of the sky. It's a bright light in the sky. The dinosaur says, "What's that?" No idea. The mass extinction is postponed. In fact, it's cancelled. So what's happening then? We've got the apes rapidly evolving, and then they're beginning to look over their shoulders because, just conceivably, there are also these dinosauroids doing rather similar things. And then, of course, it's fascinating to think what would have happened. Would it have been an evolutionary race? Maybe there would have been a winner, or maybe, ultimately, unbelievably, madly, it could have been perhaps even a cooperation.
The utopian notion of dinosaurs and humans sharing the planet may appeal, even be plausible, to some. But most paleontologists see the dinosauroid as an insult to dinosaurs.
There's probably some good ideas there. The brain was getting bigger, and they probably would have continued to outcompete other animals. But for them to become fully erect like humans, I think is a little bit fanciful.
Dinosaurs would have continued to develop. They would have continued to specialize.
Somebody else is becoming fully erect.
They would have adapted.
Tell you that much.
But they would have adapted and specialized as dinosaurs. They wouldn't have become primates or primate-like.
The idea that dinosauroid could exist as a scientific question, it's bogus. It's about as bogus as it gets.
Dinosaurs.
Yeah, we know.
Probably.
But we're just here for the little guys.
Dinosaurian trajectory.
Whatever you say,
Bigger
Geraldo
brains,
Rivera.
bigger eyes. But I doubt seriously that any dinosaur would ever end up looking like a person. And it is fairly arrogant to think that the end point of all evolutionary trajectories should sort of emulate human beings.
I love it. I love how they were like, okay, so we're doing this thing. We're talking about having some fun. It's just like, what if some dinos... Oh, fuck, we gotta be, scientific. All right, have some big brain on Brad scientists come in here and be like, actually, it wouldn't happen that way. We know it wouldn't happen that way, but that's the fun.
We just want to talk about the little guys.
Also, the thing that listening to that doesn't communicate.
We're batting 1,000 on these documentary clips, like on the Crop Circle episode when we were watching the clips from the documentary, and they chose to do it stylistically where the guy was interviewing one of the Crop Circle guys, but they did it as a dramatic reenactment where they're meeting up in a pub and they're kind of talking almost like a film noir, like a detective meeting up with his informant or something. And I was saying more documentaries should be like that. This one, everything you just heard, this guy talking about this, he's sitting in a restaurant, and the whole time there's just a bunch of dinosauroids, these people in these really cool costumes that are just in the restaurant, and there's a guy behind him sitting and reading a newspaper, and then it keeps cutting to different things of a dinosauroid checking people out at a grocery store, and one of them shopping for groceries. Like I said, more documentaries should be like this. They're just sitting there talking about shit, and there's just a fucking dinosaur dude in the background.
The best part, too, is that they're dinosauroids, they have no culture. They're just going to be naked dinosaur people walking around.
Yeah, somehow we coexist, and yet we've both, individually developed senses of modesty, and they're just we're just fucking, we let our crystal pouches hang out or whatever the fuck.
But also, those suits are, weirdly good, right?
Yeah, they're, really, really good costumes.
And they have digital eye blinks on them, too. So, they're, slender, smaller people in the costumes, but then they put digital horizontal eye blinks over the actual physical mask that the actors are wearing. And it's so unnerving and really effective. It's really fucking cool looking.
Yeah, I want to get me one of those costumes.
Oh, I thought you were saying you want to get yourself a little guy.
Oh, I mean, yeah, of course.
Does your kink manifest in people in costume as well? Does seeing one of those actors in a dinosauroid costume work for you the same way that seeing a man in military uniform does?
I'm not a fucking weirdo. The hell?
Because it's not just one guy. There are multiple little guys all wearing the exact same costume. Isn't that a uniform?
Oh, yeah. You're making me bump up against the barriers of my inner psyche. At what point does it transition from little guy to uniform?
This is a question that people want to know.
There's a Venn diagram there for sure. I think you have a point.
Just saying. It's interesting, too, that the one, true believer guy is it could have happened. And if it did happen, they probably would have been, anthropological in nature, bipedal, walking on their hind legs, vaguely humanesque in shape, because we are the peak of evolutionary life on the planet. And I don't know, dude.
I don't know, man. I'm staring across the screen at the peak of physical prowess right now. So I kind of agree with him.
You're definitely not just flattering me to try and win a little guy argument, huh?
Maybe I'm trying to flatter you because you yourself are a small, slender person, and I got myself a dinosaur costume waiting for you.
You just like, how does Davey feel about reptile skin? That's so silly. But the idea that, it would evolve into a vaguely human-esque looking creature seems fairly egocentric to me. Like, that doesn't seem right without intervention. Like, when you take a wolf and breed it over hundreds of years with human intervention, then you get a chihuahua. When you don't, you get bears and, like, gorillas and, like, nature is fucking mean and humans are fragile. Yeah, sure, we have higher brain functionality and we have invented tools and we invented the wheel and, like, okay. But that's because dinosaurs didn't exist anymore. Like, if a T-Rex existed, I really don't think humanity would have evolved the way it did.
Yeah, and also, even in that context, I don't know if, like, the human body is, like, the peak of, like, evolutionary form, because it's like, we have a lot of problems. We can't even fucking sit down without our backs just, like, fucking destroying themselves. You gotta always be standing and moving, and if you sit down for too long, your back just goes to shit. And then when you stand up, your knees go to shit, and, like, we pee and have sex with the same thing? That doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
And, like, we breathe and eat out of the same thing. So when the food that you're constantly putting inside of your mouth gets clogged in the thing, you die because you can't breathe anymore. You'd think that, like, if our bodies were peak perfection of evolution, that, like, the breathing tube and the thing you shove objects into would be different.
Yeah, I mean, you would think so, but you would be wrong because we're the peak of human evolution. And so, therefore, we can't be wrong. Nothing about us is wrong. That would be insane.
But yeah, it's funny because, like, him saying that, once again, that sounds like a Star Trek type thing, because in Star Trek, it's like, due to the limitations of budget and things like that, most of the aliens just are humans with, like, shit on their faces. And it gives this impression that, like, evolution is so aiming towards humanoid form that, like, everybody in the universe just happens to look the same. But that's obviously not true. That's just like a justification for, we don't have enough money to make an intricate, quadrupedal creature that runs on all fours or something like that.
I don't know what I'm more interested in here. The fact that humans are obsessed with, like, alternative forms of sentience, like a anthropomorphized animal in various cultures across the earth, like, I love the fact that we're constantly butting up against the limits of our corporeal form and being like, we almost probably were, like, different, huh? Like, the existential loneliness in being the only self-aware species on the surface of the planet is just so evident in things like this, where people are railing against the loneliness of the fact that our race eventually will die out. And they're like, but what if there was more? Like, we don't want to be like the dinosaurs. Maybe the dinosaurs could have evolved into a higher being, and then maybe we'll evolve past all of our foibles. Fuck.
Yeah, like the solitude of being, as far as we know, the only species of animal that has the level of intelligence that we have and also can verbally communicate and create languages, which, there's, like, speculation about the intelligences of animals and how smart certain animals are, and if they actually, are similarly intelligent to us, but they also, like, can't really create languages, or, like, they don't have vocal cords that can articulate in as unique of ways, and they don't seem capable of learning languages. And also, we're just, like, isolated on Earth, even though we've been to space and we've observed space. We've never seen any example of life outside of Earth other than, like, maybe some water on Mars. And the idea of, like, in that infinite solitude, like you said, it's loneliness, but it's also, like, the frustration of wanting to connect, the human connection that we seek on an interpersonal level and even on a societal level. I think it also extends to a cosmic level where it's like, you want there to be something else. It's like a weird human compulsion to want to seek and connect with other things, even outside of our own species, I think. And we put that towards animals as well. Like, you anthropomorphize your pets and you're like, oh, the dog's smiling or the dog is grumpy or whatever. Even the idea of, like, this could have happened hypothetically is weirdly comforting in that regard.
Yeah, and I think that's why the Dinosauroid, to whatever level of obscurity or prominence it has attained, is around, because people, like, they find it comforting to a certain degree, myself included. See all of our little guy jokes. I just love a little guy,
We all love a little guy.
Yeah. Do you have any final thoughts other than that we've been talking about? Any kind of grander opinions about the Dinosauroid?
No, I mean, what I was just saying, I agree with you that I think that it is really fascinating how this seems to be born out of this, like, feeling of loneliness or solitude. And it's almost like, telling stories about a loved one who's died, where you can almost, like, in that moment of reliving a memory, you feel like they're there, you feel their presence. And it's interesting how this is kind of similar to that, where it's like, you can tell that those doctors, Dougal and what was his name, Dale?
His name's Dougal Dixon. He was an illustrator and a writer, and then the doctor was Dale A. Russell.
Yeah, those guys, particularly Dale A. Russell in that photo that he took, the idea of him staging a photo where it seems like he's posing with archaeological evidence of a real thing. It's like a kayfabe where he's like, I'm going to take this picture where it's like I'm looking at real artifacts from creatures that live. You can feel that desperation in those guys and in what they did. You can feel them wanting to believe in this thing, to feel the presence of it in this way that I feel is similar to when you kind of remember a dead loved one and in that moment feel their presence. And I find that very fascinating. Like you said, I even kind of indulge in it a little bit myself. Like, as we're discussing it, I do find it oddly comforting. And I wonder if that really is just an evolutionary, kind of almost as like a macro pun. I wonder if that is like an evolutionary byproduct of our need to connect with people and be, amongst other things. This weird feeling of wanting there to be something else other than humans.
I mean, I can't say it much better than that. I agree with everything you said. I guess my final thought is just, if you are a dinosauroid listening to this podcast, call in. We want to do an interview.
Let's do an interview. We want to believe. This isn't even I kind of believe, but also this is some bullshit. This is like, people are saying it's bullshit, but I'm ready to believe. You just got to call in.
I'm not going to lie, though. That phrase kind of haunts me. When you said that last, whatever it was, a number of episodes ago, I kind of want to believe, but this is some bullshit. But this case specifically is the reverse. It's like, you want to believe, but this is bullshit. You know that, right? Question mark?
Which is why it hasn't caught on as big as crop circles, because that's too wordy of a catchphrase. That's too much.
It is, 100%. All right, on that note, I'm Dave Baker.
And I'm Spandrew Spice.
This has been Deep Cuts. If you'd like to find me on the internet, you can do so at heydavebaker.com. Please buy my book, Mary Tyler Moorhawk, available now wherever you get your books or comics. Spandrew, where can people find you on the internet?
If you want to pay your respects to the dear beloved Papa Pricey, you can get his book, Deadbolt AI Private Eye, by going to dapricerights.com, where you can pick it up. You can follow us on social media by going to Deep Cuts on Facebook, and you can also search the Deep Cuts Podcast Facebook group, where we talk about the show, make memes, and other cool stuff. You can join our Discord server, bit.ly.com/DeepCutsDiscord, where we talk about the show, make memes, play games, and other cool stuff. You can follow us on Instagram at DeepCutsPod. You can follow us on TikTok at Mystery Treehouse, and you can follow me on TikTok at Deadboy Detective. Deep Cuts is a production by Boy Genius Media. If you'd like to find this show and others like it, please visit boygeniusmedia.com or deepcutspod.com.
If you want to join in on post-episode discussions, please join the Deep Cuts Podcast Facebook group. Finally, subscribe to our YouTube channel for additional video content.